Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hometown History. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Domi.
And tonight's short episode is called The Home Remedies of York County, Powwowing, Poultices, and Planting. You're going to see a lot of pictures tonight of my mom. Her name is Anastasia Denoncourt. There was a photographer named Shane Bond. These are his images. He came to our house and he took pictures of us basically making tea together and what it was like being a mother and daughter harvesting from the land to, make our own medicine.
That's exciting. So tonight we're going to be talking about powwowing, and this is a brand new practice that was brought to America by the PA Dutch. So when they settled in Pennsylvania, they adapted to the new environment here, and they blended their traditions from medieval Europe with the environment that was already here in Pennsylvania. And then powwow derives from the German brosch, or broche, did we say?
Brosch.
I'm not German enough. And it meaning custom. So specifically, the word powwow seems to have been borrowed from the Native Americans since both groups were using it for healing, incantations, and herbs.
Where the Pennsylvania Dutch got a lot of the source of their information is from this book right here. It's called The Long Lost Friend, and it was published back in the mid-1800s, really early 1800s. And powwowing, there's this misconception that it was like witches, and warlocks, but really what people used it for was the protective arts and healing. They used a lot of rural home remedies, like Domi said, things that they could find in the earth. Christian theology was a main component, but it was also blended with shamanistic practices. And they used it to cure a lot of their human afflictions, but also cattle and crops.
Yeah.
Like if you're a farmer and you don't understand what's happening, and because science is just really starting, then you're going to look to whatever faith system helps you feel good, and confident about what's going. But it was also used as like hexing,
Yes.
The idea of like warding off witches and robbers as well. Oops.
Yeah, so during powwowing, they were using spells, charms, benedictions, incantations, amulets, talismans, palindromes, like Otto's name, Jamie's
Otto's
baby.
a palindrome. We were just last night practicing writing. And we put a pencil in his hand and made him move, but it's like circles and lines.
That's all he's got to do. Like the book with the purple crayon, where the kid writes on the wall.
Oh.
I'll have to buy that for him.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that one.
And herbs, elixirs, and potions from animal parts were also used in powwowing.
This is one of the kind of legends, if you will, for what would work with toothache. So what you would do is take blue vitriol, which is copper sulfate, and you would put a piece of it in the hollow of your mouth, like of your tooth where it hurts. But it said to not do too much and to spit out the water when it collects in your mouth. Be careful not to swallow. And it says, I do not know whether it is good for teeth that are not hollow, but I should judge it would cure any kind of toothache. I had 7 cavities filled over the past couple months. Yeah, and people say it was like from pregnancy, maybe.
I've heard that. It can make your teeth go bad.
I haven't had a cavity since I was like 20. So I'm like, what is going on? But I got them filled. They do still hurt.
It's all Otto's fault.
Maybe I need to try this.
Maybe, because they say it's true that it works, and they tested it on hamsters, of all things. I don't know why they used hamsters. Maybe the rat wasn't available that day, but a little hamster tooth, and they put it in there, and the hamsters had less tartar buildup and plaque buildup on their little teeth.
So it works. There's a lot of then things rooted in powwowing that are frankly true, and it turns out science backed them up. Now, not all of them, but there are some that are true. For example, my mom makes this oil right here, calendula macerate, which is for skincare.
And then we have this super old jar of whiskey and lily leaves that belong to my great-grandma, and that's a poultice. So it's a soft, moist mass, often heated and placed on the skin to treat aches and pains. So think if you have a sore throat, you'd wrap it around your throat, try and make you feel better.
And you've had that for how long?
It's probably like a 100-year-old jar. I shouldn't say that because Jif peanut butter is probably not 100-year-old. Someone in the comments, but it's older than my mom, I'd say. So it's definitely at least like 70 years old.
Are you ever gonna get it out?
I'm never going to use it. I'm not opening that jar. But, it's like a fun party trick. Like, hey, look what I have in my cabinet. Yeah.
Here's another thing that was mentioned in The Long Lost Friend. So this was a plaster to remove mortification, which when I did some research, it seems like mortification was another way of saying like bad juju. Like you committed a sin and you're not feeling very good about yourself. So this is what you would do. You would take 6 hen's eggs and boil them in hot ashes until they were right hard, and then take the yellow of the eggs and fry them in a gill of lard, which we had to look up gill too.
Yeah, we learned that's a measurement. It's 1/4 of a pint.
Yeah. You did that until they were quite black. Then you put a handful of rue with it, and then afterwards filter it through a cloth.
But wait, we're not done. So then when you're done with that, you're going to add a gill of sweet oil to it, and it's going to take most effect where the plaster is made for a female by a male and for a male by a female.
So there you go, folks. You're not feeling good about yourself? That's what you can
It's
do
a
about
partner
it.
activity. You and Luke can start making poultices for each other.
We're not feeling great about ourselves. Here's an example of some of the tea that my mom makes. So she'll take echinacea bud, lemon balm, mint, lady's mantle, purple butterfly pea, and rose petals, and she'll mix it up. And she told me this is good for stress, upset stomachs, immune system, blood sugar regulation, and anti-inflammation. I almost feel like we need a little disclaimer, like, we are not actual doctors. Do not follow our medical advice.
Neither is your mom.
These are just like fun traditions that
And
we share.
it tastes good, and I think a lot of times it's if you think it works,
right?
It does.
Placebo effect, right?
Yeah. And this is Eric Negron of Puerto Rico, and he grows food as a source of healing. So he actually was a resident of the York area, and he has since moved back to Puerto Rico. But he really spends a lot of his time researching our natural world and how humans can spiritually and physically live an organic lifestyle.
Brief story about my own family, because my great-great-grandfather's name is Wilbert Zimmerman Eisenhower. He's from Mount Wolf, and he was a powwower.
Very
so
cool.
My grandmother, who was his granddaughter, remembers when her brother got sick, they went and took him to her grandfather's house, Wilbert, and saw if he could heal him. So she doesn't remember much, just that a string was involved. But she says it wasn't talked about much. That one instance is all I remember. And I remember interviewing her and asking, like, oh my gosh, we have a power in our family? Like, Mama, that's so cool. And she was like, no, all I remember is the string. It wasn't talked about much. And so it's interesting that there's this kind of like negativity associated with it, because some people are just, hesitant to share.
It's a little secretive.
Well, and here's the reason.
Yeah, so unfortunately, powwowing became synonymous with the 1928 hex murder of Nelson Raymeyer. And we're not going to get too deep into that today. We're kind of looking on the positive side of powwowing. But if you want to know more information, this is basically the authoritative source. It's a book about the trial that happened in 1929. And you can, Google the hex murders. There's a lot of local people that give presentations and talks. Jim McClure is going to give one at the Redland Library coming up soon. So, you can dive deeper into that, but today we're just going to focus more on the positives of powwowing.
Yeah. So when we think of powwowing, really today, we think of, again, like hex doctors and shamans and witches. But my great-grandfather was the president of the school board and the councilman of the borough and commander of the VFW, and he volunteered for the firefighters, and he fought in World War I. And so I think it was way more common than what people realized.
Right. Yeah, it was just normal people looking for ways to heal themselves.
Speaking of which, Domi?
Yeah, so for many York Countians, plants were and still are a form of medicine. You can see my little garden in my backyard. I'm growing echinacea. I grow a bunch of other things back there. So whether it's food, medicine, these plants are still being enjoyed by a lot of people in York County.
Thanks for joining us. Main bar episode will be tomorrow night. It's going to be a private showing. We're going to use this digital source, so it's not in person, but we are going to be down at Pheasant Run Farms. This will be episode 3.8, looking at the history of farming. So stay tuned tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow.